Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I think all of you have woken up with your nice cup of coffee. And I welcome you to this keynote session 4A. I'm really looking forward to this session, and I'm going to keep the introduction as short as possible so that the speakers get time to speak. The first speaker is Professor Johnmarshall Reeve. He needs no introduction. He's from the Institute of Positive Psychology in Australia. And he's going to talk to us about what happens when your child has a highly autonomy supportive teacher. I think all parents in the room are really looking forward to hearing that from you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I think it's a simple but very profound, and if you don't mind me saying, I think life-changing question that we have a beautiful answer for. So hope it'll be a time well spent in these next 20 minutes, 25 minutes. There's so many people who go into this work. It's very difficult to thank everybody. But the two people that I work with literally every day, I wanted to thank Sung-Hyun Chan and Haven Zhang. Okay, let's see if we can answer this question. I wanted to set a context first. Where does this talk, where does this research fit into the broader SDT framework? It's solidly within, on the left side, cognitive evaluation theory. Personally, I started in cognitive evaluation theory in the 1990s, and I never left. I think it's the most explanatory theoretical model in all of motivation science. So I'm firmly in cognitive evaluation theory, if you'd like to contextualize where we fit in the broader framework. The second one I'd like to introduce as a framework is always wonder if you're trying to be applied and practical, where do you intervene? Where do you try to make a difference? You could work with the student's motivation. You could work maybe with the student's engagement, their well-being, their achievement. We've always found it most profitable to work with, to help the students. We work with the teachers. We work with the social context. Our belief is that the students already have all the motivation that they need. What they really need to make a difference is support from their relationships. And so we study the school, so we study the teachers. I know a lot of people do parents and workplace as well, and coaches. It just makes such a difference. Let me explain our research design a little bit, because a lot of the figures are going to look like the one in the middle. We use randomized controlled trials. That's very difficult in school settings, but we can pull it off. And we use longitudinally assessed dependent measures. So this graph would be follow the students for a semester, measure your dependent measures at time 1, time 9, week 1, week 9, week 17, and you get this longitudinal profile of their experience in the course. And the third thing I'd like to set the stage on is something that just I relearn every year. I've been studying this for a couple of decades, and I'm just constantly impressed by how important autonomy-supportive relationships are. And I'm just more impressed as we discover new findings, new benefits every year. And I hope to share some of that with you and explain why I'm so impressed with this educational phenomenon. First thing I'd like to say as we get started is autonomy support comes in different flavors. There's naturally occurring autonomy supportive teaching. I think that's what everybody thinks of. I send my child off to school. I hope she gets an autonomy supportive teacher rather than a controlling or a neutral teacher. So the teachers are just naturally, the same way you would do in survey research. You go to a school, give all the teachers the SIS, for example, the situation in schools. Some are highly autonomy supportive, some are in the middle, most are in the middle, and some are on the low end. And I hope my child gets one of the autonomy supportive teachers. But there's another way to think about autonomy support, and this is what I've heard over and over in these last 3 days, is encouraged to be autonomy supportive. So this is wow, autonomy support sounds great. I know it's going to be beneficial. I really want to do it, but I'm not sure how to do it. So I'm sold. I know this is best practices, but it's kind of complicated or confused. I'm not sure exactly what I would do in the classroom. And it's really hard to translate the idea into effective teaching practices. And it's almost not helpful to not know how to do it when you know that you want to do it. You really need some help in translating into effective practices, and that's what we try to do, which leads us to the third, professionally trained autonomy supportive teacher. We think this is really something special, and I want to show you a couple of slides why we think the professionally trained autonomy supportive teachers are heads above the naturally occurring autonomy supportive teacher. And we also think there's a fourth level that I'll get to in a couple of slides. There's still a fourth and higher level. So this is the results of one of our studies. This is a classroom analysis. So the classroom is the unit of analysis. That's why there are not many points on the scatter plot. But if you could, so the correlation between perceived autonomy supportive teaching from the students in the class and their collective need satisfaction, you can see it's very high, 0.8. I don't know if you can read it, but it's the correlation on the left scatter plot is 0.8, very high, nice linear relationship. And this is the control group, so this is naturally autonomy supportive teaching, 5, 5, 5. On a 1 to 7 scale, teachers are 5s, and the students' need satisfaction is a 5 at the end of the year. But over on the right is the experimental group. So these are teachers who have been through workshops. All semester long, they've been working on their motivating style, trying to become autonomy supportive. And if I was better at these Excel figures, I could overlay the two with different colored dots. I just don't know how to do that. But basically, the cluster moves right and up. More autonomy supportive, more need satisfaction. And the two scatter plots don't overlap much, except for that one dot on the right. We got a straggler there. But they almost don't overlap at all. So what that means is the most autonomy supportive teacher in the control group would be the least autonomy supportive teacher in the experimental group. And this is looking at individual teachers, 20 teachers who are in, this is a different data set, who are in a workshop. So the blue bar is week 1 perceived autonomy support from the students. And the green bar is week 9 perceived autonomy support from the collective autonomy support from the students. And I just wanted to show you, first again, I'm not very good at Excel, I guess, but it should be a 1 to 7 y-axis. So it looks a little bit more exaggerated. But these are very large effects. On a 1 to 7 scale, most teachers improve by about 1 point. You can see teacher 1, teacher 2 improve from the blue bar to the green bar. So this is what an effect size of D equals 1.2 looks like. And I like this way of representing essentially what we think is a manipulation check, that every teacher in this study, 19 out of 20, you can see teacher 11, I don't know if you got a sharp eye, but teacher 11, it was counter-arguing against us, I believe. But 19 out of the 20 teachers benefit. And that's very important because we try to involve all teachers in a school, not just the ones who want to participate. So we get the ones who come in like this, I don't want to be here, I don't believe you, you don't understand our students, I teach differently, my values are different, etc. But you can see just about every teacher who participates benefits. And that's important because that's the way we design our workshops. If they don't benefit, please, can we have a conversation about this and what we might do different for the next workshop? This is our conceptual and operational definition of autonomy supportive teaching. You can read the definition if you like, but I'd like to have this slide represent, we think of autonomy support in 3 different ways. First, it's one thing. It's the whole diagram on the right side. It's the whole cluster of teaching practices and teaching goals. And this is what students respond to. The Gestalt overall autonomy supportive style. That's what they relate to. But if you're trying to work on your motivating style, and become significantly more autonomy supportive than you were yesterday, then it really helps to break down an autonomy supportive style into its essential purposes. So that's in the red letters. I'm going to essentially, in our workshops, we're going to help you develop 3 skills: perspective taking, support intrinsic motivation, support internalization. And then if we want to get more specific to help you, okay, well, how do I support intrinsic motivation? How do I support internalization? Then we have specific recommended teaching practices that we work on during the workshop. It's hard work. It's a lot of refinement and trial and error and modeling and coaching and feedback and things like this. But essentially, I learned 8 practices. And then I'm ready to be autonomy supportive in the classroom. But there's also a 4th skill. So am I autonomy supportive? Let's do a quick skill check. Do you know how to take students' perspective? Do you know how and you're willing to do that? Can you make any learning activity more interesting than it otherwise would be? And can you promote internalization of your teacher requests and requirements and assignments and things like this? But the 3rd check is to get a controlling style out of your repertoire and have it transfer into an autonomy supportive alternatives. And actually, after you learn how to support intrinsic motivation and internalization, teachers find this actually very easy to do. Literally, we only have to spend about 5 to 10 minutes in a workshop saying this, and they get it immediately. Now that I know how to do the practices on the right, I know how to use them as substitutes for, give rationales instead of directives, accept negative affects instead of trying to counter the negative affect, etc. So there's 4 skills. So here's that model, that same model copied on the left. There's a couple of ways you could test this model. The first way, we just had a talk in the previous session about you could do it through meta-analysis. We like to collect our original data. So imagine this figure on the left, rotate it 90 degrees, and it's the figure on the right. So we did this 4-wave test. So our model is how we're really trying to understand how people learn and develop an autonomy supportive motivating style, and how we can help them, and how we can help the next workshop. So our model is on the figure on the left, the first red mark, and then the figure at time 2, perspective taking. First, let's work really hard and get you a masterful skill level at perspective taking. Now, a lot of people think, if I were to ask you how to be autonomy supportive in the classroom, what would you do? What would you say? And most people would say, choices. I thought everybody would say, provide choices and options. I don't think that's the starting point of autonomy supportive teaching. I think it's perspective taking. And I was very thrilled when Richard Ryan essentially said the same thing 2 days ago. So if you really want to be autonomy supportive, you want to roll up your sleeves, I'm really going to be autonomy supportive teacher or parent, where do I start? You start with perspective taking. If you can develop this skill and this attitude, then it's kind of easy. It's significantly easier to learn the skills of intrinsic motivation support and internalization support, and also to transfer your controlling instructional behaviors into autonomy supportive alternatives. And then if you go into the classroom and you can present learning activities in interesting ways, and you can have students accept and internalize your requests, then you get on the time 4, you get high need satisfaction, low need frustration. So we test this model. Here's the results. So people in the workshop do develop significantly greater perspective taking. 0.17 doesn't look big, but it's 0.001. It's actually pretty big. And then once you learn perspective taking, these are really high betas, 0.54, 0.50. I get it now. I know how to make learning activities interesting, although we give them lots of specific recommended teaching practices how to do this, and value support and less controlling. And then if I can do that, I can support need satisfaction and minimize need frustration. And I would just point out, if you look at the R squares on need satisfaction, need frustration, they're very high. So these teaching practices do a very good job of giving students a classroom experience of need satisfaction and low frustration. And those R squares would be even higher if we computed the interactions between perspective taking and interest support, value support, interest support, etc. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the recommended practices, but really the starting point is perspective taking. So I wanted to say something about that. What it is, in practice, it's basically constant formative assessment. If you're an educator, that's your lingo, so you know what I'm talking about. But basically, let me go to on the right, it's just a script of asking students, what would you like to do? Where would you like to begin? What was interesting about the book that you read? Etc. Ask them, give them an opportunity to provide their input. This is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I want, etc. And then, very importantly, take their input and adjust your instructional decisions, the activities that you use. And this is essentially perspective taking. What would you like to do? Okay, I hear you. We'll do that. Let's go in that direction. And lots of specific examples that we could go through to how do you do these formative assessments to get a constant flow of student input into your instruction. So you're not just sticking to the lesson plan. Lesson plans are very important, but they're living documents because you need the student input before, during, and after instruction. So I hope you can see the examples, but there are lots of ways that you could learn how to take students' perspective more and more through technology or just through face-to-face interaction. And I wanted to point out that really what we just discovered this year, we thought perspective taking was the holy grail. We're watching what everybody else is doing. We're very impressed with the Israel group doing very similar workshops with simulations. And they took perspective taking to the next level. They study empathic perspective taking. If you were in a talk yesterday, Muriel Josime called it consideration. And I think this is even better than perspective taking. This is perspective taking and empathy together. And now this is asking a lot of teachers. I realize that. You're professionals, you're here to teach math or PE or something like this, and you're asking for empathic perspective taking. But it's so beneficial that we try to help teachers develop the want to and the how to of empathic perspective taking. So these workshops are pretty effective, but we try to keep making them more and more effective for the next group of teachers. And what we'll do next, we'll follow the Israel group, and instead of perspective taking, we're going to work hard on empathic perspective taking. That's how you get to that fourth level. I think it's something special. Okay, I still haven't really, I don't think, convinced you it's more effective than you realize, so I want to go through the benefits. It's very impressive, but I don't know if I can go backwards. At first, we thought it was, we're doing all this for the students. We're trying to support students' motivation, engagement, learning, pro-social behavior. The reason we're working with the teachers is to help the students. But we found out in the early years, within 5 years, that the teacher benefits were just as much. And in fact, if you compare effect sizes, the teachers actually benefit more from becoming autonomy-supportive than their students do. It's very impressive. And then what we discovered a few years ago that ignited a new line of research for us is it not only affect the perceived autonomy support of individual students, but the whole classroom. So we call that the classroom climate. I'll talk about a little bit more, and we'll talk about this teacher and student getting in sync and really high quality relationships as a fourth benefit. So you don't want me to go through all the individual slides, but they're all the same. You can see the pattern. The red line is the control group. Pretty well stays flat throughout the semester. I would say the teachers that we're working with, these are very good teachers in the control group. You go into their classrooms and you're really impressed at the end of the day. These are really good teachers. But the autonomy supportive teachers are even better, and they're the blue line. And you can see these are student reports. So overall need satisfaction, the blue line has this nice divergence where it increases intrinsic motivation, internalization, skill development, self-concept, classroom engagement. And then you can look at the dark side. The blue line is now lower, less frustration, less disengagement, less cheating, problematic relationships, amotivation. I ran out of room. There's lots more. Academic achievement, life skills. I want to put mental toughness in there. because, and grit. This is not really soft kind of stuff, because a lot of people say we need high expectation standards, we need high achievement, things like this. It's autonomy support facilitates mental toughness. And our latest is working on inner compass. We don't have any data on this, but the data are there. We just haven't finished the study yet. The teacher benefits, again, let me go through these kind of fast, but overall need satisfaction, intrinsic the teacher's intrinsic motivation to teach, job satisfaction, passion, vitality. I would just point out a couple of things. They're hard to read, but if you look at passion and relationship satisfaction with the teachers, the middle blue dots, 6.29 and 6.28. I don't know if you can read that, but this is amazing. It's a 1 to 7 scale, and that's a group average. So there are lots of teachers who are saying 7s on these questionnaires. Half of the teachers are saying, I really enjoy spending time with my students. I really like going to class. Then it helped. Then on the classroom climate, this is, let's see, I've got 5 minutes. I need to say this quickly, how to communicate this. This is not a group average score. You give all the students a questionnaire and you ask them, my classmates are supportive, my classmates listen to me, my classmates understand me. And you take all the individual data, you compute an ICC, and you get something that's a group norm. And you're just analyzing the variance in the ICC. So it's not individual input, it's the class norm. And this is what teachers are affecting, is the class climate, the class culture. And you can see on these comparative slides, the effect on the individual student perceived autonomy support on the left is very high, a D of 1. But the effect of autonomy supportive teacher on the peer climate is just as strong. Even though the teachers aren't trying to support the autonomy of the classroom climate, I'm trying to support the autonomy of my individual students, but still they're having this effect on the classroom climate. So if you can create a classroom culture that's more supportive, that just is a fertile ground for pro-social behavior. If you can lessen a hierarchical competitive culture, that lessens antisocial behavior. They're almost mirrors. They're a very complicated graph, but it's very important, I think. So in the rectangle manipulated L2 autonomy supportive teaching, it affects the autonomy supportive peer climate. So this is the relationship spillover effect. You support my autonomy teacher, I turn to my classmate, I support my classmate's autonomy. I think that's a phenomenal finding. You'll hear this maybe in the next talk. We got the relationship spillover effect. But it's amazing. You support my autonomy, I go support my peers' autonomy. So you change the classroom culture, and this changes bystander behavior. So when there's a victim bullying episode, you become pro-victim, anti-bully, which is not at all the norm. And if you can change, sorry to go so fast, but if you can change the bystander behavior from the classroom climate, you get rid of victimization and bullying. Bullies cannot take root in autonomy supportive culture. There's just no one there to support them or praise them or laugh or cheer them on. So what's the point? There's no way to get a status enhancement in autonomy supportive because it's egalitarian, et cetera. This is the last benefit. This is a reciprocal causation. This is fascinating, I think. This is how can you become more autonomy supportive? One way is go to a workshop and work hard, roll up your sleeve all semester, work on be autonomy supportive. Another way to be autonomy supportive is don't go to a workshop, just listen to your students. If they're agentically engaged students in your classroom, they will tell you how to support their autonomy. Teacher, this is what we're interested in. This is what we would like to do. These are our preferences. Teacher, can we do this? I'd like to try that. I'd like to maybe use a diagram instead of an essay. Can I do that? They're constantly given if they're agentically engaged, their input, and they're just telling you how to support their autonomy. If you listen and respond to that, which I think is the essence of perspective taking, then you get this reciprocal causation, this dance between teachers supporting students, and students supporting teachers. Now, 1 minute. So I'd like to say something about competence support and involvement support. And competence support is the more popular thing or structure that people try to do an intervention on. I just want to say over here on the right, I don't recommend you go out and do a structure intervention, a competence supportive intervention. Why? Because I've been to schools too much that it's so vulnerable to slipping into a controlling structure. Even in involvement, I don't recommend an involvement intervention. It's so easy to slip into controlling rather than autonomy supportive. So what do we recommend is, first, you learn how to be autonomy supportive. Work really hard on being autonomy supportive. And then it just takes 20 minutes, because teachers are professionals at structure and involvement. They care for their students, and they know how to structure a classroom. They just need to learn how to provide structure and involvement in an autonomy supportive way. That's the skill they need. They got the structure, they got the involvement, they don't have the autonomy support. Can you help me provide my rules, my requirements, my expectations in an autonomy supportive way? So I'm out of time, so these will be the take-home messages as maybe we transfer speakers. But if you wanted to know what autonomy support looks like, at least according to SDT and maybe Johnmarshall Reeve, these are the essential elements. Thanks.